protecting our liberty.
Good evening to Fitchburg and to viewers of Fitchburg Cable Access TV, and welcome to the maiden voyage of our new show, Your Right to Know, presented by the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. My name is Mary Lotz, and I will be your host for this evening's show. This is the first show of many that is being put on by the Fitchburg Republican City Committee, or as we abbreviate it, FRCC. Our aim is to make this fast-paced show interesting, informative, educational, engaging, and even entertaining for you, the viewers. Our format will vary depending on the content. We will typically move through the topics quickly and keep the discussion flowing. We will have panel discussions, tutorials, interviews with experts on topics of interest, and even an occasional music show. The primary goal of the Fitchburg Republican City Committee, as is true with all city and town Republican committees, is to identify competent, honest, ethical, and good conservative Republican candidates and get these individuals elected to public office. Your city and town political committee is the grassroots organization of the party to begin dialogue regarding issues of importance, as well as to enhance communication with the voters. Of course, we also have other goals, and our most important secondary goal is to get our name and existence out to the public, you, the viewers, by introducing ourselves, our purpose, and our ideas to the voters and to the public in general. In getting our name out, we hope to grow membership in Fitchburg. This growth will result in increased access to residents, enhanced technical and creative skills, as well as financial support that will help get the political ground game starting and keep it moving, especially in big election years. Before we begin our show, I want to take just a few seconds to send the sympathy of all Republicans and those holding conservative values to the family of former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, who died this morning at the age of 87. Margaret Thatcher was a woman leader of state when this was not fashionable. She, along with President Ronald Reagan, took their strong and conservative style of governance to the world stage and won the Cold War and preserved the free market. Today, we stand in honor and respect for the legacy of this wonderful leader. We say a prayer for her soul and send our sincere sympathies to her family. The world has lost an international treasure. Now on to tonight's show and Your Right to Know. Tonight, we will have a panel discussion with some of my friends from the Fitchburg Republican City Committee, as well as a special guest from the Mass GOP. To my far right, Roy Landry, member of the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. To my immediate right, we have Thomas Frank Ardinger, Chairman, Worcester Middlesex District of the Mass GOP, and Frank lives in Leominster. To my left, we have Steve Morin from the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. Again, my name is Mary Lotz, and I am the Secretary of the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. Now, let's get on to our topics. The first topic I have tonight is, in your own personal history of being a voter, when and why did you become a Republican? And Roy, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, well, I didn't get to vote till about 1965. And I remember that my parents they kind of leaned both ways. You never knew who they were going to vote for. But I remember they voted for Eisenhower. So that was Republican in my mind. Mm-hmm. And in '65, when I was able to vote, a distant relative was a Democrat, and he was a local candidate, so I voted for him. And then after that, one lapse of saneness, I went to become a Republican, because I think their values are a little bit more according to what I believe in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you voted Republican ever since?
Ever since.
Mm-hmm. Frank, how about you?
You know, like Roy, my memories of the Republicans go back to Eisenhower. You know, I think I still even have a I Like Ike button, as a matter of fact. However, I registered to vote as soon as I turned 18, and unfortunately, I think I may have voted for John F. Kennedy during that election. But when you stop and think about his inaugural speech and think not what you can do for your, or what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, maybe that wasn't a bad choice. But as far as I can remember, I've always voted Republican ever since then. And I believe in the values of the Republican Party.
Steve, how about you?
With me, as a kid growing up, my parents leaned pretty much Democrat, stuff like that. So, but after I got my first job, started paying taxes, I realized that the Democratic Party pretty much gave everything away for nothing. You know, you didn't have to really work for it. So that pretty much made me decide to start voting Republican, as well as my parents.
Yeah. In my case, I came from a very Democratic family. We're Irish Catholics. My first real election was when John Kennedy ran for office, and of course, my family was very proud of the first Irish Catholic becoming president. As children, my sister and I can remember going to rallies my aunt would bring us to. We would have the pennants that we would wave and the buttons for Kennedy. And at that time, that certainly I followed right along in the tradition, although I was not a voter. But I never really thought of the election until I got to be about 21 and the Vietnam War was in progress. And the Vietnam War, if anything, was a very defining point for people of my generation and my age. And that really made me start and stop and look at who runs our country and what are their values. Then, of course, as I grew up, you know, you go through that period of time where you're involved in the business world and getting married and raising families and this and that. And I kind of lost track of politics. And I think when I got back to the politics, and I was thinking the other day, I think it was Bill Clinton, and the scandal and that impeachment was really just so disturbing to me as a woman that he got away with it, what I called got away with it, got a pass for something that certainly was in my mind very depraved. And that really made me start looking. And then, of course, when George Bush in the year 2000 with the Al Gore thing, that opened up a lot of questions, I think, for many people of your every vote counts. I think that's what really happened at that time, is that every vote really does count. One of the things that I see, though, with the Republican Party and the media now, and the press media, the print media, as well as the news media, is that the Republican Party and the Republican brand is very maligned. Do we deserve to be maligned like that, or how do we overcome that obstacle? How do you see that? Steve, I'll start with you.
Well, pretty much we have to get back to grassroots, because otherwise nothing's going to work. You know, half of them wanted to agree with the Democrats, bend over backwards for them. The other grassroots want to have a backbone and, you know, continue with our values and our traditions.
Frank, Roy, how do you feel about the reputation that's being sort of sullied by the press on the Republican Party?
I think it's been somewhat maligned, but the issue is that we have to get our message out there. We have to tell people what we really stand for instead of just letting the Democrats identify us and let them tell us, tell people what we stand for. For example, the Mass GOP has just come out with a new program that they call the Growth, Opportunity, and Prosperity Project. And I know this is something dear to your heart, Mary, because you've used that term in the past.
Yes, I have.
But it's really, that's what we stand for. We stand for growth, opportunity for individuals, and prosperity for the country. And as soon as people realize that, then that's what we're going to start swaying the voters back to the Republican side.
Roy, what do you feel?
I think it's going to be pretty difficult to get the media on our side. They've been on their side for so long. And sometimes you feel like, oh, I give up. But you can't give up. We've got to keep on. I sometimes believe that if they start to understand that all the lies that we're being told, they got to have a brain too. They got to say, hey, what these people are saying isn't right. And like Frank said, we've got to get our message out too. I don't see enough Republicans on TV, except unless you watch Fox. You never see. Why can't one force his way on CBS or something?
Right.
Even Chris Matthews, boy, I love to see a Republican next to him. We got to keep on trying.
You know what happens when if they were to put a Republican on against somebody like Chris Matthews, you'd probably get the Elizabeth Hasselbeck equivalent, who, you know, is a lovely woman, but, you know, she really doesn't have that sort of instinctive gut level fighting ability to go toe to toe with someone of his ilk. So do you think there's an opportunity to go out and get our message out when the press is not for us? I mean, how do we get our message out?
Doing what we're doing here. You know, there's definitely an opportunity to get our message out, and it's going to take, you know, some people walking, you know, from door to door if we have to.
Sure.
We just have to get out there, you know, get the message out there.
I think somebody recently wrote, were you going to say something, Frank? I'm sorry, I think I interrupted.
That's
but
okay. That's fine.
wasn't it door to door that they said is the most powerful sort of change agent to get our message out there, especially when we're promoting a certain candidate or a particular candidate?
Yep. Talking to a person one-on-one helps them understand exactly what it is that we stand for. And there isn't a better way than going and knocking on somebody's front door and engaging them in a conversation for 4 or 5 minutes. So.
Well, we're going to go on and move to our second topic of this evening. And as you all know, Senator John Kerry has been named Secretary of State, which leaves his position as Massachusetts U.S. Senator open. We now face a primary election. It will take place on April 30th. The Republican Party has 3 nominees, 3 candidates. Dan Winslow, he's a current state representative from Norfolk. We have Michael Sullivan, attorney in private practice. He's from Abington. And Gabriel Gomez is a private businessman from Cohasset. What do you think about our group of candidates? Good, bad? They're going to go up against Ed Markey, who's a sitting U.S. Representative, and Steve Lynch, who's a sitting U.S. representative. So they're in some ways already known entities. I'm throwing it out to you guys.
I think in a way we have the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let me start with Gomez. I mean, Gomez writes a letter to Deval Patrick and Obama saying that, you know, about Obama, saying that he's going to support Obama on the Second Amendment gun control issues. I'm sorry, but that's not the values that we stand for. Then we have Winslow on energy, that he wants to go ahead and expand the windmill production and all that. I came tonight with a couple facts. It takes 3 to 8 mills to power a house. So can you imagine the money that's going to go, millions and billions of dollars to create these wind farms? We're already broke as it is.
Yeah.
And he wants to expand on that? I don't know.
To me, that's just not proven technology.
No.
It's probably a topic for another night, but realistically.
I think, you know, realistically, although the 3 candidates may have flaws, the fact that we have 3 strong individuals that have chosen to step forward and run for this, you know, very important seat is critical. And regardless of how flawed they may be, I would have to say that either one of them is better than the congressman from Chevy Chase, Maryland, Ed Markey, or Stephen Lynch. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that these 3 individuals, any one of them, will do more for our country than either Markey or Lynch.
Absolutely.
Yes, I fully agree.
I think that your biggest competitor is going to be Stephen Lynch. I think they love him down there in Boston. He's very well known, even though Markey's well known too, but
Markey's been in Chevy Chase, Maryland for so
well,
long, he's
that's true,
maybe
but-
not as well known.
you come back and you tell people, I've done this for you, I've done that for you, I've given you this, they want to vote for him, but,
Well, he's really done
We've got-
nothing because I didn't know him till this year. You know?
well, we still got to get our people, our faces of our people out on TV more.
Yes, we do.
I've seen Stephen Lynch and Malachi on, and I said that on purpose, on too many times, and only Mr. Gomez on. I haven't seen the other 2 candidates on TV at all. If their faces don't get on TV, we're not going to get anybody to vote for them. And the only ones that are going to vote for them is the Republicans, of course, Tea Party people, and we got to talk the independents in the vote for them. If we don't talk the independents in the voting,
They're the ones that are going to
That's
sway
what
the
it is.
election, absolutely.
I think Roy's right. They need some TV exposure to get the name out there, but we have a great opportunity coming up on April 17th here in North Central Massachusetts.
Oh, please tell everyone,
Okay.
our listeners,
All
about
3
that.
candidates are going to be at the Leominster Elks for a candidates meet and greet. They're going to be there to talk to people one-on-one. They'll have a chance to talk to everybody as a group. You'll get to shake hands and ask them your questions personally. And it's going to be April 17th. Starts at 6:30 p.m. at the Leominster Elks. It's a free event, so you don't have to worry about paying for it. There will be some light refreshments. There'll be a cash bar. So come and have a good time and meet the three candidates right here in Leominster.
You know, we have actually, as the Fitchburg Republican City Committee, as you all know, last year we did have a meet and greet, and there is no better opportunity to get up close and personal with these individuals because you do have the time to not only shake their hands and hear their platform speech, but then also to ask them your specific question and get their answer.
Exactly.
And it's really a wonderful opportunity, and that's right near Leominster Hospital Health Alliance. That
Right on
just
Route
a little
12,
farther down. So
134
ample
North Main
parking.
Street. Okay.
When I think of our three Republican candidates, they really are kind of a spectrum they fall on the spectrum, more conservative, more moderate, and then maybe a little bit more liberal, we could say. When it comes to the social issues, which is one of the things that was really used against Governor Romney back in November by the Obama campaign and the Democrats, when it comes to discussing the social issues, where do you think the social issues should belong in a campaign? Should they be addressed? Should things like abortion, gay marriage, DOMA, should they even be part of the discussion? Or should we really stick with the sort of tried and true Republican principles of free market, limited taxation, smaller government? I'm probably forgetting a couple of, but you know where I'm going with the question.
Well, go ahead, Robert.
Well, I think that the gay marriage thing is something that most Republicans are against it, but there's probably only 6% gay people in the United States. I think they should, maybe you could give them the right to, if they're with their partner, to have the insurance and things like that with a union or something.
Union.
But marriage is marriage, and it's not that way. I don't know.
So do you think it just should not be part of the platform at
It
all?
should not be part of the platform at all.
And we should just really promote the principles
And
of
what was the other thing you
of
said?
the
I had a
Republic.
thought and I lost it there. The first thing.
Well, we were talking about promoting should we strictly stay with the principles of the Republican Party, the free market, the growing the economy, the limited taxation, smaller government? What do you think,
Well, I
Steve?
think so, that we need to get our message out there, number one, because the Republicans seem to be a little weak at getting their message out there. So if we get sidetracked by these, abortions and DOMA and all that stuff, then it just sidetracks our focus from what we can do and what we've been proven to do.
Sure.
The economy, taxes, lowering taxes, it's been tried and it's been successful. But every time we go out there with that message, we get sidetracked by the Democrats.
Sure.
And then they start springing up abortion,
Not a bad ploy, though. It worked it worked in November.
It did, and that's the unfortunate thing is that people tend to let that press take over the conversation. But Steve and Roy are right that we have to focus on the core issues, what it is that we can do as Republicans that will help this country grow, not get mired in the social issues. All three candidates have different positions, but in many cases they're very similar. And I think it's important to understand that taking the economy, taking the job situation and stuff like that, and focusing on that will be more important than focusing on the social issues.
One of the concerns I have, and when you look out at the state of Massachusetts, we're really a one-party state. And we had one seat that was a Republican, that was Scott Brown. We unfortunately lost that seat to Ms. Warren. What do you think of the ramifications or the outcome of a one-party state? I can't help but think that it sort of breeds an inbred corruption. And that corruption, it becomes like a monopoly that sort of perpetuates itself.
There's no balance of power.
Right. Does anybody have any ideas on that? I mean,
Well, that's why Massachusetts has been so corrupt for so long. It's always been a one-party state as long as I can remember.
we can go down the list. I mean, we had it in our own city with our registrar of voters, a Democrat. Not registrar of voters, registrar of deeds, and she was ethically challenged and only came to work a third of the time. We have a
Did you have
sheriff.
three speakers of the House?
Three
to
speakers
get
of the
indicted?
House, yeah. We have a woman who's the head of the Department of Education and Childhood Care, and she was earning $200,000 a year and living in Connecticut.
Yeah, but we got a city council that, if they're not all Democrats, the ones that aren't, don't want to admit it. And that's pretty bad. I mean, how are you going to get any foothold in the conservative values if people won't tell people who they are? I think that's the problem. And also, just to get back to the other thing, abortion was what I wanted to talk about, just for a minute. I think Republicans are banging their heads against the wall if they say they're against abortion, because there's so much money being made by the abortion people, the doctors and all the people that are involved with abortion. You're not going to take that away from them. They're just not going to let you do it.
Right. Well, thank you all for very spirited and lively discussions, but we're not through yet. We're now going to go on, because we have time for final thoughts from the right side. As local Republicans, we thought that it would be fun to share some of our thoughts from the right side. As local Republicans, we thought that it would be fun to share some of these thoughts about news items, a person in the news, a tidbit that deserves, for good or for bad, to be recognized. Here are some of our final thoughts from the right side, and I'm going to start with you, Steve.
Let's see. Well, I'm going to start with, I guess, gun control. And, you know, they're passing all these laws now, strict gun laws. And eventually we're gonna have to we need to fight for our freedoms, because if they take away all our guns, then what are we gonna have left to defend ourselves with? And you know, it's just ridiculous for it to be coming down, you know, like it has. And we're just gonna have to do something. You know, we have to stand up, like these rallies, go to these rallies, make the time to go to these. And, you know, make your voices heard.
Thank you. I'm going to go next, and I'm going to take the opportunity to actually speak about someone, and that someone is Dr. Benjamin Carson from Johns Hopkins University. Benjamin Carson is a pediatric neurosurgeon, and he was brought up in a very impoverished setting with a single-parent mother. But one of the things she always pushed for her two boys was that they be very responsible for themselves, take charge of their lives, and not give any excuses, not make up excuses. So she had a poem that she made them recite. The poem is called Yourself to Blame. It's by Mamie White Miller, and please bear with me, it's only 5 stanzas long, so I'm going to read it to you now. If things go bad for you and make you a bit ashamed, often you will find out that you have yourself to blame. Swiftly we ran to mischief, and then bad luck came. Why do we fault others? We have ourselves to blame. Whatever happens to us, here is what we say. Had it not been for so-and-so, things wouldn't have gone that way. And if you are short of friends, I'll tell you what to do. Make an examination, you'll find the faults in you. You're the captain of your ship, so you agree with the same. If you travel downward, you have yourself to blame. And I think that just speaks about this wonderful and esteemed gentleman, his career, and the fact that he took responsibility. Now, Roy?
Well, all day long I listen to the radio and watch TV. I listen to Hannity, John Gibson, Rush Limbaugh, and they're always telling me about how the progressives have taken our rights away. And I get in a bad mood. So then I go home and I watch the news and I see people killing people for nothing, people robbing, stealing, not knowing how to treat each other. I get in a bad mood. I watch the commercials on TV and I see Stephen Lynch and Mr. Markey on. I don't see any Republican candidates, and I get in a bad mood. So I decided I'm going to take 2 weeks. I'm not going to watch no news. I'm not going to listen to Rush Limbaugh. I'm going to listen to music on my radio. The 50s music. I can remember the time when I used to have hair.
Thank you.
I think, quite honestly, the Republican Party is stronger than what people realize, but we've been afraid to stand up for our own values and stuff like this. We've always kind of taken a back seat, and I think the biggest thing we have to do as a Republican Party is start standing up and saying, hey, this is what we stand for, and this is what we believe in. And for those of us of my generation, remember a book when Roy talked about taking our values away from us. Remember a book called 1984 by George Orwell.
Yes.
And that is so shockingly similar to what's going on in this country right now, with the controls that the people have and the double speak that is referred to in there. You can't even call someone a particular name or reference to their nationality without it being politically incorrect, and I'm sorry, but we're one America, we're one country. We should not be African Americans, Spanish Americans, or German Americans, or whatever. We have to be Americans.
Thank you. Well, that's our show for tonight. We thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoyed our very first show, Your Right to Know. When sitting down to watch TV, we hope you continue to tune in to FATV and the FRCC. I wish to thank our panelists, Roy, Frank, and Steve, and the FRCC, our special guest from Mass GOP. Frank, we certainly want to recognize you specifically. I know that we, members of the panel, had a lot of fun in working together on this project. We got to learn more about each other as we shared some of our common values and our interest. Thank you, my friends, but we also want to thank the people behind the cameras. We have Jake and Fred and Kathy and Joyce. They not only made us sound good, they made us look good, and we really appreciate our unsung heroes. Finally, we'd like to thank Tim Doust from FATV, our skilled teacher and advisor, and we'd like to thank FATV for this opportunity. If you would like to join us at monthly meetings, we meet every month at Destare, second Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock in the evening. Please join us to see what we're all about. Visit our website, fitchburggop.org, and we are also on Facebook. There are no cost, dues, or fee to attend the meetings, and we're always open to all registered Republican and unenrolled voters. As we say goodnight, we want you to remember that we always stand for freedom, and we invite you to join us to join this pledge. When we present our discussions, we will endeavor to provide the conservative point of view, or as we refer to it as, the view from the right side. See you next time, and good night. Thank you very much.
America, we stand for freedom. So let us all unite to yearn and strive for our republic that reflects our values, that preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and might, that reflects our values and preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and